All right, so, we've just finished up entering the advertisement payment here, okay? And we recognized that it was just a down payment for the advertising, so we haven't necessarily bought the advertising just yet because we haven't received the full 2,000 flyers yet. So now the next thing that we see here is we received some items here, okay? We received our coffee. Okay, let's note here that these coffees are going to be perpetual regular coffee, which is moving average, and we have perpetual supreme coffee, which is going to be FIFO. Okay, so let's take a look at this right here. How are we going to journalize these coffees here, right? We have the exact amount here for the 125 pounds of regular coffee, which cost me a total of $168.75. We have the total of 125 pounds of Supreme coffee, which costs $193.75, giving it a grand total of $362.50. Okay, so in this case, how do I journalize this?
With purchase expense and just regular coffee and supreme coffee.
Okay, so which one? Purchase expense, regular coffee? Which one?
Just regular coffee or no.
What tells you that you should do purchase expense? And then what tells you that it should be regular coffee?
Because of perpetual.
Okay, so which one is it? Is it going to be purchase expense or regular coffee?
Like inventory.
Okay. Okay, so inventory. So which one is it? Is it going to be purchase expense or is it going to be regular coffee?
Regular coffee.
Regular coffee, okay. What else do we have?
Supreme coffee.
Supreme coffee. So let's take a look at our chart of accounts. Do we have our accounts for that? And what accounts are they?
We have regular, we have supreme.
What account numbers?
12,020 and 12,040.
So 1220, 1220, and 1240, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to journalize that I have regular coffee and I have supreme coffee. Okay. Okay. And lastly, I received a bill.
Ability.
Liability. And what am I going to do with the liability? Excuse me.
Our payable.
Accounts payable. Excuse me. Accounts payable. All right, so how much was my regular coffee?
$168.
Okay. What about my supreme coffee?
$193.75.
excuse me, 193.75, making my grand total 362.50. Okay. And who did I receive this invoice from? Excuse me.
From Atlas Coffee Imports.
Correct. Atlas Coffee Imports for short. Invoice number 315. Excuse me. If the assumption is I'm not going to pay now, right? What are my terms? Was I given terms?
Yes.
Okay, so what is it? 1%. 1%, 15, net 30. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and update our ledger for this. Okay. So I have inventory. Okay. Here's my regular coffee. I purchased. £125 of coffee. It's up to you if you want to put your price points. Okay. General journal number 4, and I'm going to increase my account by the 168.75. So therefore, I should have $168.75 of regular coffee. Okay. I also purchased Supreme Coffee, right? Purchased £125. Okay. General journal number 4 for $193.75. Right, making my account balance of $193.75. Okay. And of course, because I placed this on account, I need to update my liabilities. Okay. Because I am not going to pay now. So invoice number 315. General journal number 4. And I'm going to increase my liability by $362.50. Okay. Which will bring my account balance to now $14,116.40. Okay. Not doing too good here. We're owing too much money here. And we only have like $5,000 left in our bank. Okay. All right. So now that we updated our journal, our ledger, we also need to update our subsidiary ledger because now we owe Atlas Coffee some money. Okay. So 612, you could say right here, purchased 125 pounds regular coffee and 125 pounds of Supreme Coffee. right? Invoice number 315, post reference General Journal 4, terms 1%, 15 net 30. Oops. Okay, so therefore, what's the discount due date going to be? 27th. And then the actual due date is going to be the 12th of July. So in this case, we only have an invoice amount because we didn't make a prepayment on this one. So $362.50 is what I owe because I did not make any prepayments, did not return anything, did not get a discount, nor did I pay anything. So $362.50 is what I owe to Atlas Coffee. Okay. And of course, now that we have all this information, right, we need to update our purchase orders, okay, because we received our inventory, right? So purchase orders, here we are. We received our items for the $362.50, right? Invoice number 315. Okay. And of course, this is inventory, so we also need to update our inventory worksheets because we received some coffee, okay? Starting with the regular coffee, right? We purchased 125 pounds, okay? Unit cost, I believe it was $2 and let's take a look. I think it's $1.36. Let's see. For the coffee, $1.35, and the Supreme coffee was $1.55. Okay. We don't have freight yet, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop here because the next transaction is going to be dealing with the freight. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and go into my Supreme coffee over here. And I'm going to say the date was 6/12, right? We purchased 125 pounds at $1.55, giving us a total of $193.75. Okay? Is everyone good so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So then let's take a look at our next transaction, as I mentioned already, right? We ended up receiving another bill or another invoice here. And it says here that it was the shipment for the coffee, okay, for $62.50. Now, if I bought 125 pounds of regular coffee and 125 pounds of Supreme coffee, I got charged $62.50 for shipping. Okay, now who sent this bill to me? Freightline. Okay, so again, another third-party vendor shipping out things for this company. Okay, so how did I pay them?
With checking.
With a check because it's COD. COD stands for cash on delivery. Now, how am I going to journalize this transaction here if I paid, if this is, how am I going to journalize the freight charges?
Freight expense.
Okay. Now in this case, is this going to be a separate cost to the company?
Would it be yes since it's a third party?
Okay. In this case, what kind of inventory did I buy?
Fix.
Not fixed inventory.
Current.
Okay, it's definitely a current asset. But what kind of inventory did I buy?
Goods.
Okay, so the question I'm trying to ask is, did I buy perpetual or did I buy per periodic inventory?
Perpetual.
You bought perpetual inventory. What do we know about perpetual inventory?
You just put inventory, so it'll just be regular coffee and supreme coffee.
Correct, right? All expenses that are related to inventory, right? The total inventory cost is going to include every cost it takes to get the asset to the store, right? So in this case, right, if I just purchase my inventory just the way it is, right, and I picked it up from the store, the only thing I'll be having to tack on there is tax. But in this case, they shipped me these items to my store. So am I going to take this freight expense as a separate expense to the cost of the company? No, I'm going to include it as part of the price of my inventory items. So in this case, because I have perpetual inventory, right, that means those freight expenses are going to be considered part of the inventory. So regular coffee and supreme coffee, right? Because I have two of them, right? Now, in this case, how do I split it?
Half
Down
and
the
half.
middle.
Yes, because in this case, most likely freight is going to be based on weight, right? In this case, I have an even weight between the two different items that I bought. So in this case, right, therefore, my assumption is I'm going to take the 62.50 and divide that by 2 to give me $31.25. Okay, giving me a grand total of $62.50. Now, because I had to pay cash on delivery, right, I had to write a check because I don't have cash available in my hands right now. I have to either go to the bank or I write them a check. So the easiest solution is going to be write them a check. So go to your check register. It is the 12th, and you paid $62.50 to who?
Freight line.
I made the payment to Freightline. So again, check number 1512. So I have here Freightline, COD, invoice number 4482. Okay. And of course, I use check number 1512 to pay. Okay. So now, once again, I need to update my ledger because now I've increased my inventory because I have to include the shipping cost of my freight in the price of my assets. Okay, so here we are. Okay, regular coffee. I'm going to go ahead and put this as shipping cost, or in this case, you could do freight cost. General Journal 4 for the $32 is it $31.25. So therefore, what is my grand total amount of inventory that I have for regular coffee?
Is it 200 even?
$200 even. Okay. I have freight costs for my Supreme coffee for another $31.25. So therefore, what should be my grand total of my regular Supreme coffee?
I believe 224.
225.
25.
No worries. 225. Okay. So then last thing I did was I end up cutting a check. So therefore, I need to update my checking account too, right? Since I wrote check number 1512, okay, General Journal 4, okay, I paid $62.50. So therefore, my checking account has now dropped to $5,689.92. Okay. Right? And because I dealt with a vendor, right, because it's a third-party vendor, and I paid them with check number 1512, I need to update the subsidiary ledger. So, subsidiary ledger, oops, I'm in the wrong one. Subsidiary ledger, I dealt with Freightline. Okay? Here they are, Freightline, and it is the 12th, and I'm going to say delivered 250 pounds of coffee. Invoice, right? Because I'm going to make a linkage. Invoice to 315. And I'm going to say I paid with check number 1512. Okay. Invoice number 482. Okay. Post reference General Journal number 4. Terms COD. Okay. Invoice amount $62.50, and I paid $62.50 with check number 1512. So therefore, I owe Freightline nothing. And here's my proof of payment. Oh, whoops. Invoice amount minus prepaid minus returns minus discounts minus payments. 0. Okay. Okay. Last but not least, I have to now update my inventory worksheet because now I actually have the freight. Okay, so let's go back to regular coffee. I have freight for the $31.25, which gave me a total cost of $200. Now in this case, what method am I going to be using to calculate my cost of goods sold?
Moving.
Moving average, right? So in this case, I need to solve for this batch here, which is going to be, it's going to cost me for now $1.60, right? I took the quantity of 125 and I divided that whole entire thing by 200, or take 200 divided by my quantity to get me $1.60 each. So because this is moving average, I'm going to go ahead and copy the quantity and I'm going to copy the total cost. However, what I'm going to be constantly doing is that the next time I make a purchase of inventory, right, I have to recalculate my average cost per item, because we don't care about batches. We care about what it's going to cost me based on when I sell and based on when I purchase, right? So this number will always constantly change. So for my very first batch of inventory, I have 125 pounds available, and it's going to give, it's right now it's a total cost of 200. That means every pound that I sell or every pound that I use, it's going to cost me $1.60. Okay. Now let's go ahead and talk about my Supreme coffee, right? Supreme coffee, it was for $31.25, which gave me a total cost of $225. Okay? Now in this case, how am I going to be calculating the cost of goods sold? What's my method that I'm going to be using?
FIFO.
FIFO. So in this case, I need to find some kind of method to keep my batches of inventory separate, right? Because in this case, every batch of inventory is going to be unique. Or in this case, yes, unique, right? We need to keep track of which one came first and then which ones came next, okay? So in this case, I'm going to copy my quantity and I'm going to copy my unit cost, because in this case, my unit cost will always stay the same unless for any reason that I return an item or so on and so forth, okay? And I'm going to put my formula right here under my total cost. So then every time I change this amount here, it will automatically calculate for me using the unit price of $1.80. Now, what I can also do here is, since I'm not going to have a running total, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this my running total here. I'm going to make this represent my total number of units I have available, and as well as my total cost. So right now, I have a total of 125 pounds at a total cost of $225. Okay, so this is my running balance. So every time I purchase a new batch of inventory, I'm going to put it in this inventory on hand, and it's going to increase my total amount later. Okay, so this blue right here is my goods available. So right now I only have 125 pounds later, but like I've mentioned, right, if I put my formula in this section right here, right, that means every time I sell something, right, and I change this number, let's say I sold and I have 80 left, right, it's going to automatically calculate what 80 times $1.80 is going to be, which will give me a total cost remaining of $144. Okay, so that's what I want to do here, instead of having to manually change the quantity and change the cost, because at the end of the day, right, or change my total cost, at the end of the day, your cost per item is going to stay the same. Okay, so there's no point to recalculate something like that. But if you are worried about rounding errors and rounding issues, then I do recommend, if you like it to do it that way, to be consistent with the other method, then just go ahead and just change the quantity and change the total cost, but the cost per item will remain the same. Okay? All right. Any questions here?
No.
No.
Okay. Let me go ahead and see what happens next, and then I'll determine whether we should do it or not. Okay. Okay, so look, we can do the next two transactions. That should be fine, and then we'll call it a day after. Okay. So next thing we have here is we hired Silver State Electrical. Okay, to do some electrical work for the coffee grinder. Okay. In this case, all we did was hire them. No bill was done or no bill was sent. Okay. So in this case, no quote was given either. So all we're waiting for is them to finish the job and then send us a bill. So in this case, we just hired Silver State Electrical. It's just something that we need to keep in mind. Okay. All right. So then next thing we have here is we end up receiving a bill from LV Remodeling for the reinforcement foundation for the coffee grinder. Okay. Now for the coffee grinder, that costs us $15.60. And here it tells me that, again, it's going to be invoice number 1760, and it's going to be due in 4 days. Now, in this case, right, this was work to be done on the coffee grinder. Okay? So, in this case, how should I journalize this? Okay? This is work that I had done to the coffee grinder. How should I journalize this? Am I going to recognize it as a complete separate expense to the company, or am I going to include it in the cost of my coffee grinder?
Included to the coffee grinder?
Correct, because that is the part of getting it ready for service, right? I need to have a foundation to put the item to stand on top of, right? So in this case, right, it's going to be part of the cost of the asset. Now, where is my coffee grinder currently located? What account did I place it in?
It is still in the miscellaneous suspense.
It is currently in my miscellaneous suspense. So therefore, I'm going to take this amount here and dump it to my miscellaneous suspense because it's going to be part of the cost of my coffee grinder. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I believe it's still the same day, right? It's still June 12th. Oh no, we're on June 13th. Oh, it's Thursday, not Tuesday. Okay, so we're on the 13th now. Okay. So we're gonna dump this into miscellaneous suspense because that is where my asset is currently laying. Okay, it's currently in my miscellaneous suspense account. Okay. Now in this case, am I obligated to pay now or can I pay later?
Later.
4 days.
Later. I have 4 days to pay. So in this case, I'm going to take advantage of those 4 extra days because right now I am way too low in my bank account. If I pay for this now, I might run into situations where I can't afford to pay for the next couple other transactions here. Okay? So in this case, I'm going to assume I'm going to pay it later. So therefore, I'm going to place it on an account. Now in this case, it's for the 1560. right? 1560. Okay. And I have everything that I need, right? So in this case, I received a bill from LV Remodeling Company. Invoice number 1760. I have another 4 days to pay for it. Okay. And that's pretty much it. Okay. So I need to now update my ledger accounts because now I have a part of a cost of my coffee grinder I need to include. So I'm going to come ahead and find my miscellaneous expense. And here it is, miscellaneous expense account. And I'm going to go ahead and make a note saying this was reinforcement foundation on coffee grinder. Okay. General Journal 4 still. And that increased my cost by $15.60. So therefore, what is my total account balance in my miscellaneous expense account?
$3,088.07.
$3,088.07. Okay. So of course, since my coffee grinder is the only thing I have in here right now, that would be my current cost of the coffee grinder. Right? I don't have to do my calculations here on the side anymore just because I already took out my coffee brewer. So the only thing that's left here is my coffee grinder. Okay? And of course, because I didn't pay for it now, I need to also update my liabilities because now I owe an additional $15.60. Okay? With invoice number 1760, I believe, right? 1760, yeah. Okay. General Journal 4, increased my liability by $15.60. So therefore, now I owe $15,676.40. So again, this is how a real business would be going down. Oftentimes, you're going to be owing a lot of more in the very beginning because you need to make all of these expenses. You need to buy and get your store ready for whatever it is that you're selling, right? You need to get your store ready. Once you do that, usually, occasionally, the first couple of months, you would barely make a profit because no one knows who you are, right? You have to do a good job with marketing, do a good job with utilizing everything that you purchase. Okay? So in this case, yes, we owe a total of $15,000 and we only have $5,000 in the bank. Okay? So of course, right, since we owe LV Remodeling more money, we need to go ahead and update that my subsidiary ledger account saying that, hey, I actually owe LV Remodeling more money. Okay? Now, of course, these due dates kind of give us some breathing time, right, to make sure that we can pay for everything on time. Okay? So it's the 13th, right? And this is foundation for grinder. Okay? 1760, General Journal number 4. And again, it's another net 4. Okay, so therefore, this is going to be due on the 17th of June. Okay, for a total of $1,560. So therefore, in grand total, right, I owe another additional $1,560. Grand total that I owe to LV Remodeling is $3,450. Okay. So each person that's in at the bottom at the gray is going to basically tell me how much I owe each individual vendor. Okay, so in this case, I owe LV Remodeling $3,450. Right, because I have 2 outstanding bills that is recorded with them. Okay. And I think this is where I'm going to stop for today. Okay. Actually, we could do the next transaction since it's not dealing with journalizing, and then we'll finish up the rest on the 14th of June, Friday. So let's go ahead and just do this last quick one real quick. So in this case, I contracted with Hire Temps, a temporary help agency for one person to work 8-hour shifts, so 8 hours per day, from the 17th all the way to the 19th of June, and I'm going to pay them $10.50 each per hour. Okay? And of course, the payments is going to be due on the 21st of June. So in this case, right, I went to a temporary work agency to find someone to hire for just 3 days of work, and I'm going to pay them $10.50 an hour, and they're going to get paid, or the company is going to get paid on the 21st of June. Okay? So in this case, right, first things first is I just hired them. I have the agreement terms, a contract has been signed. Now in this case, right, was there a transaction? Did I pay them yet?
No.
Did the person work yet?
No.
No, right? We're still on the 13th of June, right? This is just scheduling someone to contract to have someone to come out to work for me from the 17th to the 18th to the 19th. So 3 whole days, 8-hour shifts, and I'm going to pay them $10.50 per hour and pay them on the 21st. So at the end of that week, I'm going to pay them. Okay? So in this case, right, what do I do with this extra information, right? This is definitely something that you're going to have an adequate disclosure for, right? Right? Because this is pertinent to a transaction, but it's not something you journalize, right? Because a transaction hasn't happened yet. However, this is information that is important. So where would I put this information?
In the subsidiary.
Correct, right? Since in this case I didn't provide a note to the financial statements, so the best place to place it is going to be in your subsidiary ledger under the actual hiring agency that you decided to hire that one individual person for. So in this case, Hire Temps is the name. Okay, so here's Freightline, Hallie Bros. Okay, so Hire Temps is right here. Okay. Do you need to have a date? No, because, you can have a date. So today's the 13th. And let's see, we're going to hire one person. So I'm going to put hire one person for 3 days. To work 8 hours. Okay, to work 8 hours per day at a rate of $10.50 per hour. Okay? And I agreed to make the payment on the 21st of June. So due date is going to be 21st of June. So at least I have this record number here. You should have a contract number, but in this case, that's fine too, just because you should be billed by higher temps, right? Because that's the contract. That's what the contract says, is that it's going to outline that you're going to make a payment on the 21st of June, okay? Which I made a note here. And I'm going to pay for one person to do 3 days, to do 8-hour shifts for 3 days, paying $10.50 an hour. Right? So again, you can calculate that, but what if that person doesn't show up for one of those days? Then you should only pay for if they do show up for those hours. So in this case, that's all you need to have here. Okay. All right. And like I've mentioned before, we'll continue the rest of this scenario the 14th, okay? So that means tomorrow we will be doing the trial balance for the second week of Coffee Cafe, and that means Thursday we're gonna finally get together and we're gonna do this together on our own without my guidance, okay? Or as I mean, like, I'm gonna have you guys be the accountant and you guys are gonna figure out how to journalize everything from here on out, starting on the 15th of June, okay? All right, other than that, any questions in regards to anything that we learned